Have you ever wondered how some people keep moving forward, even when everything around them is falling apart? Maybe work isn't going the way you hoped. Maybe a relationship is slowly unraveling. Maybe your mind is full of worries about someone you love, and by the time night comes, your whole body feels heavy. You've pushed through again and again, and yet another wall, another obstacle, and somewhere in that exhaustion, a quiet voice whispers, "I don't have anything left." But here's something that never stops surprising me. When you walk through the mountains, sometimes you come across a sight that makes you pause. A rough, hard slab of rock, and there in the tiniest crack, a small flower, blooming quietly. No soil to speak of, barely any water, the wind always cold, and yet it's blooming. I'd like to begin today with that flower, and then I'd like to share a story, something the Buddha once told his disciples, on an evening much like this. If you're in a hard place right now, I hope this finds you. I hope it becomes, even in a small way, a little light. This story comes from about 2,500 years ago. The Buddha was traveling with his disciples across the plains of India. It was late in the day, that soft, dusky hour when the body grows tired and the mind grows quiet. The group came to the foot of a rugged, rocky hillside. Among the disciples was a young monk who had not yet been in the order very long. He had been struggling with the harshness of the training, with the strangeness of this new life, and most of all, with his own mind. Again and again he had thought to himself, "I'm not cut out for this." Again and again he had come close to giving up. He stopped walking and looked up at the bare rock face. "Look at that stone," he murmured. "Hard all the way through, cold, nothing grows on it. I feel like that stone. No matter how much I practice, nothing seems to take root inside me." The Buddha smiled, quietly, gently, and then he pointed to one spot on the hillside. The young monk looked closer, and there, pushing out from a narrow crack in the rock, was a tiny purple flower. "Tell me," the Buddha said, "did anyone bring water to that flower? Did anyone carry soil up to that ledge? Did anyone say to it, 'You may bloom here'?" The young monk shook his head. "No, no one." "That's right," the Buddha said. "That flower was not helped by anyone. It was not given ideal conditions. It bloomed on nothing but the life already within it. And notice, the colder the stone, the more that small life shines. The harder the place, the more beautiful the blooming." For a long moment, the young monk stood still, just looking at the flower. Those who were there said his eyes were bright with tears. Then the Buddha said something the young monk never forgot. "The same thing that lives in that flower, it lives in you too. You simply haven't seen it yet." It is said that from that evening on, something shifted in the young monk. He continued his practice, and in time, he became a teacher who brought comfort to many. Let's stay with what the Buddha was pointing to in that moment. In Buddhist teaching, there is a concept sometimes called our original nature. The idea that within every living being, the capacity for awakening already exists. It isn't something you earn. It isn't something you import from somewhere else. It's already there, inside you. Wisdom, steadiness, compassion, these aren't things you acquire from the outside. They are things you uncover from within. Think again about that flower in the rock. It didn't say, "If only I had better soil." It didn't say, "If only I had more sunlight, or a gentler wind, or a warmer place to grow." It simply bloomed with exactly what it had in exactly the place it found itself. And yet how often do we think, "If only that hadn't happened to me. If only I'd had a different start in life, things would be different now." That feeling is not wrong. Our circumstances matter. The people we meet along the way matter. But I think what the Buddha was gently offering is this: if you keep waiting for conditions to be perfect before you bloom, the flower may never open. The rock flower didn't wait for permission. It didn't wait for the right moment. It chose to bloom, here and now with this life. There's another word in Buddhist teaching that speaks to this, a kind of steady, patient effort, not the desperate, white-knuckled striving we often push ourselves toward, but something quieter, a continuous, unhurried turning toward the present moment. Not forcing, not stopping, just continuing, like a flower pressing its roots, slowly and surely, deeper into the rock. When we're in pain, we so often want to rush out of it. We want to be better already. We want to be past this already. And sometimes that urgency becomes another weight we carry. But the flower in the rock doesn't rush. It deepens. If you are in a hard place right now, I want to offer you this. What feels like being stuck may actually be the season when your roots are growing, quietly, out of sight. So how do we carry this into the everyday? Into the ordinary, sometimes grinding texture of our actual lives? Let's think about work for a moment. You bring your ideas and they go nowhere. You give your best and it goes unnoticed. You drag yourself to the office each morning through a fog of dread, and slowly something inside you starts to dim. You start to think, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe nothing I do will ever be enough. In those moments, I invite you to remember the flower in the rock. The flower doesn't say this rock isn't the right rock for me. It works with what's there. It reaches toward light during the hours when light is available. It draws what little moisture it can from the stone around it. It doesn't try to do everything, it just does what it can where it is. Instead of measuring yourself by everything you haven't managed to do, try turning your attention to what you did today. It doesn't have to be large. Today I was really present for one person. Today I finished one piece of work with care. Those small things are the roots. And roots, even when invisible, are what hold you. The same is true in our relationships. Someone you trusted let you down. Someone you loved caused you real pain. After something like that, it makes complete sense to close off. To decide that being open is too dangerous. That hurt is real, you don't have to minimize it. But notice, the flower in the rock doesn't spend its energy being angry at the stone. The stone is what it is. The flower simply tends to its own life. It doesn't let the hardness of its surroundings become the whole story of who it is. Learning to trust again after being hurt. It's frightening, it takes time. But perhaps it begins with just one small gesture. A little more openness today with one person. That is what it looks like to press your roots into the rock. For those of you raising children, this story speaks to you too. It's so easy to worry about whether we're giving our children the right environment, the right experiences, the right start. But a child is also a flower with a life already inside them. Before you worry about the soil, trust the seed. And for those of you who are getting older, and feeling the quiet grief of a body that no longer does what it once could, please hear this. The flower in the rock doesn't bloom because it is young. It blooms because it has been pressing its roots into the stone for a long, long time. The depth you carry from years of living, that is not a loss. That is exactly what makes your blooming so steady, so unshakable. There is really just one thing I want to leave you with today. The strength to bloom, it's already in you. When life is hard, it's so easy to feel like you have nothing. But the flower in the rock doesn't bloom in spite of having nothing. It blooms because life finds a way, even there, even in that. The harder the place, the more that small living thing shines. If you are struggling right now, that is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are here, pressing your roots deeper, in the quiet and the cold, where no one can see. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for staying with this story until the end. Just knowing you're here, that means something. Next time we'll bring another teaching from the Buddha's words, something to carry with you into your day. Until then, take gentle care of yourself. I hope to see you again. There is a woman I know who spent a year in silence, not because she chose it, but because grief took her voice. When she finally spoke again, what came out was softer, truer, more alive than before. She had bloomed in that darkness, and the light she carried became a light for others. So when you find yourself in your own hard place, remember, you are not waiting for life to get easier so you can begin.